Alright, motherfuckers. I want to show off this new acquisition. This is Ronin Katana's Wolf Rider Bastard Sword. On Cult of Athena it says Warg Rider, but then when I look it up it says Wolf Rider, and there's wolf embellishments, you know, the crossguard has wolves at the end there. So I'm just calling it Wolf Rider because Warg is somebody in Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire speak that can warp into a wolf or another animal. But then Warg is also in other fiction, I think D&D, basically like a werewolf, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm just gonna call it a Wolf Rider Bastard Sword. But first of all, the scabbard is fantastic. It is very nice. You can't see. This is probably not a great way to film if I'm going to show off the scabbard. But the quality is better than any sword that I've bought so far. The stitching is pretty nice as well. This is very good and it's very sturdy, which is very nice. The wrap. Best wrap on anything that I've ever bought weapon-wise. Usually I cut them off and I either leave them plain or I re-wrap them. This is fantastic. This is what a sword wrap should feel like in my mind. The stitching, you can't really feel it unless you directly run your finger over it. You don't feel it in your hand, which is great. It's not squishy. It's not overly thick. It's exactly what it needs to be. It's fucking perfection. Okay? The scabbard, it's tight. You can flip the sword over, it's not going to fall out. Scabbard, I love this scabbard. It's very thick. It's about a 1/2 inch thick. You know, the wood part anyway. I don't know if the leather is real. I don't really care because it looks very nice and I'm not going to do anything rough with it, so that's fine. It's sturdy. It's well made. It may or may not be real leather. Doesn't matter to me. I like it. I like it a lot. It looks great. The blade. That's the part everybody wants. It's a leaf blade, which is really cool. I've never had one of these before. It is about 29 and I'm just going to say 29.5 inches long. It's technically 3/8, but whatever. They're fun to swing around, as I'm noticing, I'm learning. It does kind of, in my case, affect how I want to swing and where I want to hit with things to get the best cut. As you can tell here, I did cut into the box with all of the insides, all the paper material. Slashed it pretty fucking deep. That was one cut. So it's pretty nasty when you get something at the right angle. The sword is 3 pounds 12 ounces. So for kettlebell enthusiasts, that's like 1.5 kilos. Well, yeah, about 1.5 kilos. So that's pretty cool. But the best and the coolest part is that the point of balance is like right here. Literally 2 inches from the fucking guard because of this hefty ass crossguard with these beautiful wolves on there. Look at that shit. That's amazing. So this sword handles very well while being quite heavy. It's pretty maneuverable. The only problem is, I will say, if you try to do cool wristy things, you know, you can smack yourself with the wolf crossguard, but like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. And then, because it's a bastard sword, you can get 2 hands on it and really go to town on stuff. And I like that. And when you have this two-handed, it is incredibly nimble. Okay? You can do all of the fancy cuts. It's just, it controls so well, it's ridiculous. But I would use it with a shield, just so I can hit stuff with the shield. The point on this sword, amazing. It tapers enough. I mean, that is a wicked point. It thrusts very well. That's another reason, like I said, just use it with a shield. And then you can line up a damn good thrust. You got the hacks, the sweeps, you know. And then, if you need to, you can two-hand it and get more precision on it. A lot of wrist action here. It controls very well due to that point of balance being down around here. Sharpness, it is functionally sharp. It is not a razor blade. European swords historically were not razor blades because you were generally fighting people in thick, like armor, like mail armor was a thing, and then shields. What happens when you have a super fine razor edge is that it's super dull, or it's brittle, not dull. I'm very tired, and that means it can break and chip easily. So I would say that, in my opinion, right, these companies like Sword Ear, not that I have anything against them, but the swords that they make that are like razor sharp and they're made for like cutting competitions where they're like, oh, it's historically accurate. It's not historically accurate. I know Shadiversity glazes them, but like that's just not how historical European swords were made. They were not razor blades. Okay? They had to be durable because of what you were fighting with them. You didn't want your blade to get massive chip damage smacking somebody's shield. I mean, obviously it happened, but you have a more robust blade, it can take more punishment. It's why in axes are like virtually indestructible. It's that principle. But anyway, it's sharp. It's just not going to win you a cutting competition, you know? You're not going to be able to cut through pool noodles because they don't have any mass. This thing weighs almost 4 pounds. It hits hard. You got to have mass to absorb the force. So yeah, it's not going to do it for cutting competitions, but it's nice. It's decently sharp. There may be an option for a sharpening surface. I didn't see it. Not that I would have gotten it anyway, because it's not that hard to do a whetstone. You just got to be patient with it. So, yeah, if I wanted it sharper, I could just do that myself. What else? Let me see. There's no rattle, nothing. The peen is very well done. Look at the peen. It's pretty well done on there, okay? The pommel is nice. I like this type of pommel. You can grip the pommel if you need to. Not that you really need to with this sword because of the weight distribution. You don't really need a whole lot of extra leverage. And my favorite thing about this sword, besides the aesthetic, is that it's not a whippy piece of shit. I absolutely hate a whippy sword. It is the main reason I don't really use my Honshu Claymore. That thing is so flexible, I just can't stand it. When you swing a really whippy sword, okay, a really flexible sword, especially a long one, like a big one, what I've noticed is that the blade tends to drag, okay? So when I swing that sword, right, I get a good swing on there, the blade drags, and then it pulls the sword down. So I'm fighting more wind resistance. You know, I'm fighting, it just feels weird swinging a big floppy sword around. I don't like them. And it almost feels like if you hit something with it, it's just going to shake. Like it's just going to rattle. It's not going to do jack shit. I like the sword to feel solid. Okay? This is a nice balance between a somewhat flexible blade and a complete crowbar like my cold steel Viking sword. So this is somewhat flexible, but it's not whippy, but it's also not so rigid that it might actually shatter if you hit something hard enough, like the cold steel Viking sword, which I love, but I'm not gonna lie, it is probably too stiff, probably too rigid, which is why that sword does have some chips in it, but it's a fucking beast. Okay, that's basically an axe in sword form. I love that sword. I don't recommend buying that sword. I don't recommend buying any swords from Cold Steel. Buy their axes, maybe their really big katana thing. I wouldn't buy any of their other swords again. But that's an aside. So yeah, this is Ronin Katana, and this is the first Ronin Katana that I've ever owned. And I'm very impressed with this sword. I'm probably going to get the other one. There is a bigger version, like a long sword, like a proper long sword. So yeah, I'm probably going to get that next because it's very nice as well. I mean, it looks nice, put it that way. And yeah, that's how much I like this sword. I came back tonight from work. I unboxed it. I was gonna make an unboxing video, but like it's kind of gay, and I think I missed the train on that like a decade or so ago. So wouldn't matter. So just like showing it off real quick. The Ronin Katana Wolf Rider Bastard Sword is what I'm calling it. And yeah, I like a bastard sword. I like a sword, you know. We got a one-handed sword primarily, but if I need to, I can put a second one on there comfortably and, you know, go to town with it if needs be. The only potential drawback, like I said, this can hit your arm. This can hit you in your forearm. So if you try to do the twirly shit and be, you know, you have to get used to that. Maybe drop your hand down if you want to twirl it for whatever reason. You know, about here it's not going to hit you, but if you're up here, you know, like a proper grip or whatever, it can hit you. That is a little annoying, but it's not the end of the world. You just drop down here and it's fine. Now it's not going to hit you. That's the only issue that I have with it. And it's not an issue for me, but some people are going to be bothered by that. But, you know, the profile of the sword, look at it. I love a wide blade like this. I love a broad blade. That's also not a whippy piece of shit. No offense to Honshu, but like, your claymore is too fucking whippy. It's like a whip sword out of Dark Souls. So I like that. I like the broad blade. The leaf design's pretty cool. Like I said, I never had one of those before. Kind of reminds me of Sting. And then it's got a bit of the Witcher motif, or like House Stark motif on there as well with the wolves. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's a very nice sword. I would say it's a beautiful sword. And I don't like using that word very often, but there we go. So yeah, Ronin Katana, not Honshu. Ronin Katana. Fantastic job. This sword is awesome. It's just, this is exactly what I wanted out of a bastard sword. Perfect blade length for me, in my opinion, you know, for my tastes. Perfect handle length. The feel is fantastic. You know, this is how it should feel. Now, I don't mind if it's really heavy in the blade, but you have to give me some nice leverage point here, you know, on the handle. This sword does that because of this big ass crossguard. It's taking a lot of the weight, and you feel it right around here. So that blade, very maneuverable. So yeah, pretty great. And the sword looks amazing. I recommend it. I got mine off Cult of Athena. It only took, 5 days to get it. I ordered it Friday. Today's Wednesday, so 5 days. Great sword. Not a great sword. It's a great, well-made sword. Not a great sword, though. I don't like great swords. They're too big. You know, too big and too fucking whippy. Don't like them. If I could get a great sword, like a scaled-up version of this, I'd probably love it. Alas, the fat nerds on YouTube tell you that that's not practical. So, but this only weighs 3 pounds 12 ounces, and it's balanced incredibly well. I think probably feels like a 2-pound sword. So if you just kept the proportions and scaled it up to make a 7-pound sword, I think you could pull that off, and it would probably be, you know, maybe about 8 to 10 pounds. I think it'd be usable. But nobody does that because the nerds won't buy it, so whatever. Yeah. This does look like it could be in Game of Thrones or The Witcher. Not that god-awful Witcher show, though. Fuck that. Like, the books or the game. I don't like the games, but the story's cool. Oh yeah, here, let's get one. Oh, like butter. Just went right in. That's good. That's good. Here. I could cut it. It also knocked it to shit. But you see what I mean about the weight transfer, right? Like, it's got to have some resistance. There we go. Put it on the ground there. I usually keep these boxes. My cat likes it. So I'm not going to keep all the boxes. I cycle them out. I don't have a house full of boxes. It's like one or two. And then I get rid of them. And I get a new thing. And then the cat's like, oh, a new box. You know, it's spooky, so. But yeah, anyway, sword rips. I love it. It's my new favorite piece. I probably like it more than my mace. And it is definitely going to be the new primary self-defense melee weapon that I keep next to my bed. Because it just looks so cool. It just looks cool. And you can just run somebody through. So good. So good. Now, the only thing, I don't know if I'm going to keep the blade mirror polished or just let it kind of wear naturally. I probably will. I'll probably polish it up at some point. And then keep it nice. I'm going to have to oil this sword. The Honshu Claymore, I don't really bother with. One, because it's got the blackened finish. And two, because I don't like it very much. So I don't care. The cold steel sword, I just don't have to do anything with it. It's fine all the time. I don't know what they made that thing out of exactly. But I swear that sword is borderline indestructible. There's no rust flakes. I've had that sword almost 5 years and I have not done anything with it. I have cut through, trees, like small trees, weeds, OSB board, 2x4s. I hit the mace. I was like, swinging both around, and I cracked the mace up around the ring, and it cut into it a bit, and the sword was fine. I've hacked through pork bones, dried out, like dog treats, which are really hard. You would think that would be easy to cut through, but they're really hard. It's kind of like hitting a rock. I mean, it shattered the beef shanks. The only thing that really kind of nicked it was the femur. I did hit a beef femur with that. It's a T-Rex bone dog treat is what they call it, but it's basically a cow femur. And that nicked the cold steel Viking sword, but it also shattered. It cut into it didn't shatter, it broke it in half, but it sheared it and then snapped it. So that was pretty cool. That sword's a tank. It is kind of loose, so I got to be careful with it. But that sword is very tanky. I imagine that this sword, as great as it is, not that tanky. But that's fine because most swords are not going to be that tanky. So the caveat, I suppose, to cold steel is that if you want something that's incredibly durable, I guess, their shit is pretty tough. I know I did say the blade could shatter, but then I remember all the tests I've done with it, and it hasn't yet, so that's probably fine. But this thing, I'm not going to do anything abusive with it because I just like it so much. It's very decorative. But yeah, I love this sword. And I'm going to buy the other one at some point. I don't know when exactly, but I'm going to get the other Ronin Katana. And I might just kind of keep buying from them if that one's as good as this one or better. Because that would be impressive. I've heard good things about them. I just never got around to their stuff. I know, like I said, Swordier and Romance of Men get a lot of glaze because they give Shadiversity free stuff. Not that I have a problem with that. I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying that from what I've seen of Swordier, not so much Romance of Men, I don't like their stuff. It's too small. The blades are too whippy. The points are not reinforced. They're very flimsy on almost all their stuff, like their Dark Sister sword. And the blades are just too whippy. I cannot stand a whippy blade. I hate it. When I hold my sword out and it drops, I can't stand that. I understand that a really big sword has to have a bit more flex and will. That's fine. Not to the Honshu Claymore degree. But a sword like this, you should not be able to hold your sword out and then have it noticeably drop. I hate that, and I just won't buy Swordier stuff because of that reason. I just won't do it. Because I know I hate the feel of those swords from handling the Honshu. And a lot of their shit is worse looking than the Honshu in that regard. Look at the point control on this. It's pretty good. So yeah, I'm just not going to buy their stuff. Romance of Men, though, I might buy. I want their Executioner sword. But I'm going to stick with Ronin Katana because I'm that impressed with this sword. Especially, I can't convey to you how good the handle of the sword, the hilt. It's very well made. Yeah, I don't know if that's real leather or if it's like the plastic stuff. I don't care because it just feels good. It just feels good in my hands. So I don't care what it's made from because it feels durable, looks durable, is stitched well, and it feels really good to hold. It's very comfortable. The Honshu, I had to cut the guard off because the stitching was shit and it just kept cutting into my hand. This I didn't have to do that with. So yeah, what else can I say here? The pommel and the crossguard are stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about oiling those. That's good. And yeah, that's it. Ronin Katana, Wolf Rider, Bastard Sword. Again, if you get it on Cult of Athena, it's going to say Warg Rider. Not Wolf, Warg. W-A-R-G. But when I looked it up to see reviews for it, they called it Wolf Rider. So I'm calling it Wolf Rider, not Warg Rider. And I think that makes more sense just given the wolf motif on the crossguard. And yeah, the foresty nature of the scabbard. So Wolf Rider, Fantasy, Bastard Sword. And then there's a long sword, which is bigger, beefier, and more straight. You know, it's a straight blade. It's not a leaf blade or anything. That's probably what I'm going to get next because it looks quite imposing for a long sword. You know, normally long swords tend to taper quite a bit at the end. And that's because long swords historically were used as thrusting weapons to get into the gaps of plate armor. They were backups to your halberds and whatnot, your poleaxe. So that makes sense. But this is more like, it kind of looks like the Strider sword from Lord of the Rings, which some company, I've seen a Shadiversity review, some company makes one of those, and I guess it's decent, but if it's Swordier, I'm going to pass. I just don't like the whip on a lot of their stuff. But anyway, yeah, I'm rambling because that's what I always do in these videos. But yeah, this sword kicks ass. It looks amazing, and it is my new favorite piece, so to speak. And if you didn't believe me, here, you can hold it. I'm pretty confident to do that. I'll hold it up, and it's not going to fall out. So that's great. Still, if you were going to hang it on your wall, I would suggest doing it this way. Do it this way if you're going to hang it on the wall, which I might end up doing. Because not only is this a very nice, like a very good functional sword, it's just if you want a wall hanger, you're probably going to pay about as much as you would for this. with shipping and everything, it's like $400. Which, by the way, when I was younger, you know, like a teenager, and looking at swords, $400 got you an absolute piece of shit. Okay, $400 was like dog shit. You couldn't get anything good for $400. You'd have to spend at minimum $1,000 or so to get a sword that was halfway good. And I mean, the market has gotten so much better with people like, and I credit Cold Steel for that. They made it popular with all their videos and everything. You really have to thank them for that. But like Ronin Katana, you've got, I like Windless. I know a lot of people shit on Windless. I like them. I like Windless more than Honshu, to be honest. You got Honshu though; they make decent stuff. A little iffy here and there, but I haven't had any issues with the Claymore, to be fair. Cold Steel stuff is fine. It's not the best. Mostly it's overbuilt, and sometimes it falls apart. Quality control is not the best. Their knives are great though. Cold Steel makes the best fucking knives. What else do we got? I know there's more. You got Swordier now, if you don't mind the whippy blade. You got Romance of Men. All their stuff looks great. You know why I don't buy from them? That you can only do it in the U.S. through PayPal. I don't have a PayPal. I'm not gonna get a PayPal, and that's the only reason I haven't. I might to get their Executioner sword, but yeah. Who else do you got? You've got Baylor Arms. They look good. You got... there's so many options now. You can get a great sword for like $300 to $400, $500. If you don't mind Swordier, you can get a literal Zweihander. Great sword for like $350. But again, I do not like the big swords. I would rather use a poleaxe because it's just more functional and it's the same size. Because you can use the whole shaft. It's basically a staff weapon. With the big sword, you're limited to the handle, the hilt, the guard, and the ricasso. So I just don't like them. I like swords like that. And then maybe a little bit bigger than that, but not quite the size of the Honshu Claymore. So yeah, Wolf Rider, Ronin Katana. I'm obviously not affiliated with anybody, so there's no deals or anything. I'm not going to tell you to click the description. But I think, yeah, mine with shipping and all that was like $400. Absolutely worth it. This sword is awesome.